Hello, hello. So, just a new report. I've been a little bit before Christmas. A nurse over at the clinic I go to, where I'm being treated for my disabilities, gave me this book for Christmas. So they knew I was trying to quit smoking. This is the Allen Carr Easy Way to Stop Smoking book. I'd been trying the patch and e-cigarettes, all of it, with no success. So somebody gave me this book, this nurse. So I started reading it before Christmas, and I was taking my time with it, trying to get it. So the gentleman who wrote the book made two claims, basically. One, he was going to help me to quit smoking, and two, he was going to make it enjoyable. So I believed that he could make me quit smoking after just reading 1 or 2 pages, 3 pages of the book. I really did. He convinced me that quick that he could make me quit smoking. But one thing he couldn't convince me of was that he would make it enjoyable. The more I read, the more I stayed convinced he would make me quit smoking. And the more I stayed convinced it wasn't going to be particularly enjoyable. It wasn't going to be unenjoyable, don't get me wrong. I mean, I would be very happy if he made me quit smoking. I had been trying and trying and trying with no success. So I mean, of course, if he could make me quit smoking, yeah, I was going to be happy. But I mean, he was going on about how enjoyable it was going to be. So I got to this point in the book, and I read one sentence. All it was he was making a comparison. I don't want to tell you too much about the book, because I find that's bad. Well, I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. But I don't want to tell you too much. But I'll tell you this. He had these two monsters that he's always talking about. There's the little nicotine monster, and then the big brainwashing monster. And he said, just imagine that these two monsters you are playing cards, and they're trying to bluff you. Well, that sentence registered with me, because I used to be a gambleaholic. And for whatever reason, it really registered. It got into my head, and I got this picture of this little monster over here with nothing. That's the nicotine monster. Because I agree with him that the nicotine monster is easy to beat. We do it every night, right? You go to bed and you go 8 hours of sleep. It doesn't wake you up, the nicotine addiction. Like, it's not so strong that it wakes you up. And some people who have a spouse who doesn't smoke, they don't smoke in the house, they don't smoke in the car, so they might sleep all night, get up, have breakfast, have their shower, get in the car, drive all the way to work before they actually have their first cigarette. So actually, the nicotine addiction is not a really tough addiction. It's a little nagging feeling, right? And I agree with him that it's just a little monster. But the brainwashing monster, well, that's bigger, right? That's a big monster. So I give him a pair of 2s. He's got a pair of 2s, and he's sitting over here. But I got a royal flush. And every time I get a little craving, it's like they're trying to convince me to take a card. Well, and it makes me laugh in my head. Like I laugh because they're trying to make me draw into a royal flush. And I got this clear picture of this. I don't know why that sentence did it, but it did. It put this whole scenario in my head. And now every time I get any kind of little craving, to start with, I'm not getting any real cravings nicotine-wise already after only 2 days. I quit Saturday night. I said before I go to bed, because I finished the book Saturday evening, I said before I go to bed, whatever cigarette I have then, that's my last one. So I ended up going to bed about 12:30. So I had a cigarette right about then, sometime around then, about 15 minutes earlier, I guess. And I went, okay, that was your last cigarette, by the way. And I haven't had one since. And I had cravings yesterday. That would have been Sunday. I had cravings yesterday. Every now and then I had nicotine cravings. And every now and then I had brainwashing type cravings where you like reach for a cigarette, or you just, that type of thing. Today, no real nicotine cravings at all, but I still do have the brainwashing ones. Like I keep reaching for my smokes because they're usually beside me here on the thing, and I notice that while I'm working here, I'll go like this. And then I laugh. I go, no, you got a pair of twos. I got a Royal Flush. I don't want any cards. And if I do feel like the little nicotine craving here, that's like that little, something's not quite right, I just go, I know, you're hungry. Guess what? Starve to death, you little bastard. I fed you for 40 years. Feed yourself now. And that's it. It's gone. But the most important thing for me is that he was totally right. Not only did he get me to quit, but I'm enjoying it. Like really enjoying it. And that's the secret, I think, because if you're enjoying it, you know it's going to stay. You're going to, I mean, come on. I really have no fear that I'm going back to it because I'm not depriving myself. That's what it is. He talks about that too. But like I said, I don't want to say too much. The reason I don't is because there's a whole bunch of people online who are already doing this crap. It really annoys me when something works well and then people want to right away sabotage it, it seems. The people who think they're doing something good, but they're not. So what you got right now on the net, like this guy's been around for 25 years in Europe, where he's actually recognized as the leading stop smoking aid, above the patch and everything else. Right? Now, since he's been in Canada, he's already got better success rates than the patch and Zyban and Chantix and all these other things. He's already got better success rates, but they don't recognize him as the leading smoking aid yet, which is why anybody that uses his book to quit should really be writing letters to their MLA and everything saying, hey, how come this guy's not recognized as a smoking aid? Because it costs $20 and he works, which is way cheaper than all those other ones. But in Europe, he is recognized like that. So anyhow, these people that are using him and they're finding out they quit, instead of doing the right thing and writing letters and stuff, what they've done is they come up with websites that say, the only 10 things you need to know to use the Allen Carr quit smoking method. And they've taken out 10 points he's made, like in the book every now and then he'll make 10 points, like you're going to have better self-esteem, you're going to save a bunch of money, all these things that we all know. And that's the whole point, is that everybody knows these things. These guys who picked them out must think they're geniuses because they found 10 things that he talks about. But everybody knew these things anyway. The simple point is that even though we knew them, it didn't help us quit smoking. His gift is that he took things we already knew that weren't inspiring us to act and somehow put them into the correct part of our brain or whatever, that they're now inspiring us to act. And that's the difference. And in order for that to happen, you got to read the whole book. You don't just pick out 10 points. Just repeating 10 points that everybody already knew is just a surefire remedy or recipe for failure. Because everybody knows those points anyway. So get those things off of here, is what I think. Guys, you're not helping anybody, you're hurting everybody. Because if they're going to go to it in desperation, they're going to go, oh, it says right here I only need to know these 10 points, and that's the whole Allen Carr method. And so then they try those 10 points and they fail. And then you say, well, have you tried Allen Carr? And they go, oh yeah, I tried his method, it doesn't work at all. Well, no, what you tried was 10 points put up there by an idiot. What you want to do is get this little book. It's only I always want to say how many pages, and I never really know. I read it all, but well, it's 237 pages here. But these are, at this point, I'm reading just happy readers, like people that have read it and quit, and this is some of the stuff they got to say about it. You don't really have to read all that. This is where you can get an audio edition. These are vouchers to go to the seminars, because he's got seminars. So, I mean, if you take away all the stuff here that you don't really need to read, and just the part that you actually have to read, the part that's actually the part of the... You have 198 pages. So it's a $20 book, right? And it's 198 pages. He's sold 13 million copies. If you look hard enough, you'll find a copy out there that somebody else has read. And you don't really have to go out and buy it, I'm sure. You can go to the library. I happen to know in Vancouver that they have 3 or 4 of them in the Vancouver library system, because that's originally where I didn't want the guy at the clinic to have to put out the money to buy the book, because he told me that's what he was going to do. And I told him, no, I'll get it from the library. Well, there was 4 copies with 3 people on the waiting list, and I waited an entire month, and I still hadn't moved up on the waiting list, apparently. And so this guy was so anxious for me to read this and quit smoking that he went out and purchased it. But like I said, if you got patience, you can wait for it from the libraries in any city, I'm sure. But even if you do buy it, it's $20. And I'm telling you, he's given me back an awful lot of, because like I said, I have no doubt that this is going to last for me. This isn't like before where, I've quit before for short periods of time with the deprivation methods, I now call them, where you're with willpower. See, with willpower, you've got to always use willpower. I'm not using willpower anymore. This isn't it. With willpower, they tell you don't think about smoking. Well, the harder you try not to think about smoking, the more you think about it, right? This guy wants you to think about smoking. Oh, by the way, while you're reading the book, you keep smoking. That's the most important thing. I can't believe I almost forgot to tell you that. If you're already a smoker and you're smoking, you keep smoking while you're reading this, because he doesn't want you stressed out on nicotine withdrawals while you're reading it. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it. If you're not smoking, he doesn't want you to start. But if you are a smoker and you're smoking, keep smoking while you're reading the book, which really helped me. But yeah, he said, think about smoking, but think about how good it is that you don't smoke anymore. There's no reason to try not to think about smoking. Because the harder you try not to think about something, you know as well as I do, you're going to think about it. But the fact is, just think about the positive side of it. Think about, every time you start thinking about smoking, just remind yourself how much money you're saving, how much healthier you feel, how much less your clothes stink. The fact that you can eat a meal and then you don't run out right away to stick a cigarette in your mouth and ruin the taste of the meal. All those good things. And you'll find that while you're thinking all that stuff, the craving for the cigarette goes away, because you're not fighting it, making it worse. And all that stuff is really good. But that's why I say you got to read the whole book, because he's got all these little pieces of information woven in and out throughout the pages. Don't try to do the 1 page, 10 points. That won't work. I almost guarantee that you're going to fail. I mean, there will always be 1 or 2 people it works for, just like anything. But this guy, out of like 13 million copies sold, apparently has 10 million people who say they've quit smoking. I mean, I'm just reading one right off the back. All 8 of my friends who resolved to quit smoking last year did so successfully by reading this book. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. They can't all be lying. Guy also does weight gain. He does drinking. And I could see that, because it's not about what the addiction is. It's about the way this man explains things. I think he's got a gift. Cool. You know? So anyway, the book is Allen Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. And like I say, you can, in Canada, it's worth $20. I don't know what the American version is worth. But ask Ellen DeGeneres. She's got a plug for it on the cover. So I'm sure she can tell you. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.